Hello, BookTube. Just recently, Bill Ruttenberg at the Ruttenberg Library made a video about his travel bag and the books that live in it. He was talking not about his daily bag, the bag that he takes on his commute to work, because in typical Iowa fashion, his commute to work is done on foot in about 10 minutes. And he's loved there, and he loves it there, and it's doing good for the community. God, how I miss the Hawkeye State. But rather, his travel bag. What bag does he use, and how does he arrange the books in it when he's traveling? And even though I don't do that anymore, I don't travel anymore, nor will I ever travel again, I do have a commute bag of a kind. I don't commute anymore either. I work at home, but I do errands regularly. And the frequency of that is only going to increase the older my dog gets. When Frida was a little puppy, you can't leave a little puppy alone in a house. You'd have to fence them in or pen them in or crate them in or something like that. And I'm not going to do that to any dog of mine, so I couldn't leave her alone. And when she was brand new here and young and could get into anything and had no idea what was wrong and what wasn't, what was dangerous and what wasn't, ordinarily I would feel a little bit more secure in a situation like that because I would always have an older dog who would be able to show her the parameters of her world. But the older dog that I had at the time, my pointer Malin, had no interest in her and was so old and so weak and blind that she couldn't have helped anyway. And I didn't want to leave her alone either. So I didn't do much in the way of errand running then. For that year or so, I didn't do much. But Frida is entering the point now. She is 6, and she is entering a point where she is going to spend all day sleeping and not really needing me for much of anything. She'll want me to be there, but only when she's awake. She won't need me and won't worry about it when I'm gone. So errands will probably increase. And I have a bag for that. And it doesn't take much prompting for me to talk about my bag anyway. So I'm taking Bill's video as a provocation for me to talk about my bag, even though I'm not talking about a travel bag. And I hope that you all do the same. I want to see your daily kit. I want you to explain it to me. I don't just want to see it. I want you to explain it to me. It's a fascination of mine. So I went and got my bag so I could show it to you. This is my bag. This is my shoulder bag. And there are a whole bunch of things that you can tell about it right away. First of all, it's extremely heavy duty. Extremely. It's thick and heavy. The whole construction of it is thick and heavy. That's very important because I'm brutal on my stuff. I'm brutal. And on a shoulder bag more than anything else, I've gone through hundreds of them in my life. Not because I changed my mind or because the fashion in Milan had changed, but because I wore them out. I wore them to pieces. That's one important thing. Another important thing, if I can manage it, is that the bag not be advertising anything. That it have no logo or anything on it that I can't get off. Now, I have a very sharp little knife. I'm very good at getting stuff off a bag if I don't want it to be on there, labels or anything like that. But some of them are made so you can't remove them. That knife also comes in handy with a lot of the interior of a bag. Not particularly this one, but from time to time I've gotten leather shoulder satchels that they weren't like this. They weren't cloth. They were leather, and they had partitions on the inside. A partition, at least one on the inside, is invaluable. It's essential. And many times with those leather sort of professional satchels, the leather partitions, the leather walls of the bag itself, even the flap, have padding in them, cardboard sometimes even in them, to give them a stiff shape. I don't want that in a bag of mine. I want my bag to have the maximum amount of flexibility, the maximum amount of expandability, because when I stuff things into it, I'm probably going to stuff it to its capacity and a little bit beyond. And I am remarkably handy at taking that knife and dealing with that padding. The fact that you get a shoulder bag that has that kind of padding does not mean you're out of luck. You can remove it. You can remove it, and you can do so unobtrusively. So for instance, if your inside partition is stiff because it has padding and cardboard in it, and you don't want it to have that, of course you don't want it to have that. What you do is Avulse the bag. You turn the bag completely inside out. Go to the very bottom seam of that partition, the part that connects it to the bottom of the bag. In other words, the part that's not visible when anybody's using it, when anybody's looking at it. You go to the bottom of that seam and use a knife to cut the stitches at the bottom of that partition. Once you've cut the stitches, you have access to go in and simply pull out the padding and the cardboard. And then Bob's your uncle. I don't have the skill to sew that back up again, but it's a stitch that's flush with the partition in the bag at the very bottom. So not only am I not going to wear it open by constantly brushing against it, but no one's going to see it. And then that internal partition is still there to help you organize things, but it's not preventing you. It's not saying you can go this far and no farther. Same thing with any kind of padding on the lip of the bag or the sides of the bag. All of that can be got at. You go at it through the lining inside the bag, and the key to that is to turn the bag inside out. I have made wonderful bags that lasted me for years by doing that. I didn't have to do that with this one. This is all cloth inside and out, double and triple sewed, heavy, heavy material. So that's the one thing that you're going to notice, right? Two things, really. It's heavy duty, and it is not advertising anyone. So that is the one part of the externals here. Then you can see another crucial part is the straps. The shoulder strap itself has to be incredibly well anchored to the bag. It can't be just there on a ring, with a ring lightly sewn to the side of the bag. It can't be that. I'm going to put 50 pounds of stuff in this bag, and I'm going to carry it around for long periods of time. I have had so many straps just pull right off the body of the bag, in which case it's useless. I can't sew, and the material usually isn't strong enough to withstand it if you sewed it back on anyway. So I paid attention to this thing. It's an extra heavy duty, and it is sewn to fairly well. Ordinarily, this would be a little strip here with just a bit of sewing around the edges. But this is the X pattern there. It has the X pattern on the inside, and it's nice and thick. Both the straps are nice and thick. That's important. I check that first when I'm dealing with a shoulder bag to make sure that that part is durable. That's where the rubber hits the road, is where the strap connects to the bag. Ideally, you want a strap that is part of the bag, where there isn't any connection at all. But in this case, there is. Next best step up is something like this. The next step after that is where the strap has a metal clasp. Clasps can break. And if it has a metal clasp, usually it has a weak anchor. So I pay attention to that and try and get the best that I can. I try never to buy a satchel new. They're all over secondhand charity shops and whatnot. They're all over the place. And I'm fairly good at Frankensteining them into what I want. A bag only has to be close to what I want for me to get it for $2. Then you have this thing. You probably noticed this thing, this clip. I added this to my bag years and years ago. Before COVID, I used to volunteer at a children's intensive care unit, reading to the kids, talking to them, perking their spirits up, that sort of thing. These were usually burn victims, so they not only couldn't leave, and not only did a lot of them not get visitors, but they also couldn't really move a lot, so they needed visitors, and I was happy to do that. And some of them are very young, and I never had toys with me. And one of the wonderful ladies that ran that wing said, "You ought to always have a toy with you. Believe me, when you need it, you won't have one. So just have it with you at all times. They're so useful." And I just so happened the next time I was at a thrift shop, I found this thing. I don't know if you can tell, but if you pull the string on this thing, I don't wonder if it will do it. If you pull the string on this thing, it vibrates a little. It walks. If I unclip it and I put it on a table, it will walk. And that's good for a half an hour of fun. So I just leave it on there, and it's been absolute habit. I left it on there even though I no longer do that volunteer work. COVID sort of ended that, and it hasn't resumed. So even though that's true, I still leave it there. Those are the two sides. There's a pocket on this side with a clasp. That's for something like a subway pass that I need right away. I don't want to be fishing for it. If I'm heading to a turnstile and I want to tap my pass, I want the pass easily within reach. The other pocket, the one on the other side, has pens and pencils, because you never know. Pens and pencils and a little pad of paper. because you never know when you're going to need such a thing. You can't count on having it and having it available. You never know when you're going to need to write a note on paper. So good to have those things there. And then the back of the bag that is, that is brushing against my body while I'm walking, the body side of the bag, is a compartment. And ordinarily in a bag, in a shoulder bag, I want both compartments. I want it to have a back compartment. I want it to have a front compartment with pouches, which we'll see. And I want both of those to be covered by flaps, not clasps or zippers. Zippers are the work of the devil if you don't have a sense of touch. And clasps don't protect what's inside from the elements, should the elements arise. I got this one anyway. I've chosen this one anyway, even though it doesn't match that criteria. You can clasp this shut, but it still leaves this open. If you're in the pouring rain, anything that's in there is going to get soaked. Whereas if it had a flap, it wouldn't get soaked. But I did it anyway because A, it wasn't a big enough deal for me to reject the bag, and B, as I've mentioned in a few videos, we don't have weather here in Massachusetts. This is Central California. It is 50s, sunny, and bone dry pretty much year-round here. We don't have anything in the way of weather, really. Rarely, every once in a while, we'll have a rainstorm, a gentle, warm rainstorm. Every once in a while, we'll have a little bit of a cold snap, and forecasters are always saying, snow's right on the horizon, snow's right on the horizon, but the oldest person in Massachusetts can't remember the last time it snowed. So I realized once that I was putting too much emphasis on that, and that partition is important for tote bags. These are two Brattle Bookshop tote bags. They make really sturdy, really capacious tote bags. And I recently, it was only very, very recently, like 2006, that I became converted to the gospel of tote bags. I never go, no matter what my bag is, I always carry at least one. They double and triple your carrying capacity and take up almost no space. So I put two of them in there just for the padding and because it's convenient, and they have come in very handy. And that brings us to the front. Well, we have the top. There is actually a handle here at the top, a cloth handle. I almost never use it, but it can be useful. And again, it is extra heavy-duty riveted to the bag. That's what I like. That's what drew me to use this one as my daily bag, my daily satchel, is that it's really heavy-duty. I need that in my bag. But then we have the front. The front does have a flap that protects the inside. And here we have two exterior pockets and a huge interior space. Big flat-bottomed interior space, just gigantic, that can be used for... This never came with an interior divider. Some of mine have, but this one didn't. And that was very attractive. And the front pockets, here and here, they are very deep. So in this one, I have my badge, my door badge for the Christian Science Monitor, and also a mask, a face mask. You don't ever want to, I don't ever want to rely on memory to grab one of those. I want to make sure I have one. I have one that I grab, but I want to make sure I have one in the bag in case I don't, just in case I need it. And in the other one, in the other front satchel here, this front sack is just a face cloth, because I shouldn't have said that it's 50 and sunny and completely precipitation free here in Massachusetts 12 months out of the year. That isn't actually true. It's true, it's like that for 8 months out of the year. And the other 4 months, it's 125 degrees Fahrenheit here with 100% humidity. Bolivian heat and humidity for 4 solid months. So when I'm walking around, I'm perspiring like a stuck pig. So I carry one of these things with me just so that right before I go into an office or a meeting of some kind, I'm not the Swamp Thing. I can clean myself up just a bit. And then, as you saw, there's an internal pocket here. And keep in mind, this internal pocket is backed on the other side, not only by the padding of the bag, which is pretty thick, even after all these years, but by the padding of 2 tote bags. So it's pretty safe from external blows. And it's padded, it's protected by everything that's on the inside of the bag. And that's good. It's good that it's protected because it's where my Kindle is. Because the predilections of Grandpa Ruttenberg notwithstanding, I don't know what would be wrong with you that you would carry a bag full of books. I have no idea why you would do that. This has 4,000 books on it. And it needs a 1-hour charge every month. And it can be read in bright sunlight. It can be read in shadow. It can be read anywhere. I can adjust the font. I don't risk some drunk stumblebum on the subway staggering up to me and saying, "Hey, I read that once." I don't risk anything like that. I don't risk changing what I feel like reading. Maybe I'm in the middle of a book and it's not doing anything for me and I don't have another book. Or maybe I have 10 books and my back is aching. Oh no, I don't do anything like that. I bring all I do. This is my book bag. But who carries books anymore? Who carries print and paper books? That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It would be like, well, I've got a long train ride. I'd better bring my Sony Walkman or a nice hip-sized portable vinyl player. You wouldn't do that. People that have readily, quickly, easily accepted technological improvements elsewhere, for some reason feel like, oh no, I need to be a print and paper book. I got to bring 10 of them. I've got a long bus ride. I better bring 10 books. I have 4,000 books. Given that technology, I would never even cross my mind anymore to do otherwise. Although, I should point out that this bag does fill with books. If I'm shopping, like for instance the Prattle Bookshop, or I'm going to a newsroom, whether it's the Monitor or anywhere else, and finding a whole bunch of doubles or giveaways or whatever, or a thrift shop of some kind, the extreme likelihood is that if I'm out and about walking around on my hind legs, I'm going to accumulate books. That's extremely likely. So they do fill up this space, but they don't start out that way. They don't stay that way. What on earth? Is this the 1990s? And that is this bag. It's very simple. And as you can see, there's nothing in it at all. I didn't empty this for this video. There's nothing in it. I don't keep anything in it that lives in the bag, except for the things in the front pouches there. My ID, my sop rag for the sweltering heat and humidity that is tropical Boston, a face mask in case I need it. Also in one of these front bags, these front pouches here is change, coins, basically 10 or 11 quarters. Because again, you never know when you're going to need them. My billfold is here, and it has cash enough so that I can, if I find a need for cash, I can use it. Again, that seems so anachronistic to me. Why would you do that when you have, a card that you can just use anywhere? But it's very important to carry some cash around with you, because there'll be certain circumstances that will come up, and they'll always be unforeseen, where you don't know that you're going to need it. But aside from the things in those front pouches, nothing lives in this bag. My keys don't live in this bag. They live on my person. My phone does not live in this bag. It lives on my person. There's no folders here or billfolds where I would do, physical writing with pen and paper. I have my phone for that. I do a lot of writing when I'm out and about wearing this bag. I do a lot of writing. I do a lot of emailing, a lot of stuff like that. But I do it all on my phone. Why would I do otherwise? Why would I carry along 1975 analogs of any of this stuff when I've got a fully equipped workstation on my phone? I can't answer that question. I don't think there is a good answer to that question. I don't think there is a good answer to why you would carry around tons of printed books with you. I don't think there is a good answer to that, other than an 8-year-old petulantly crossing their arms over their chest and saying, I don't wanna. That is the only explanation I can come up with for why you wouldn't want to carry 4,000 books with you in your bag. The only explanation I can come up with for why you would want to carry 4 books that are big and heavy and that you have to care for while you're out and about is that I just don't want to. I just don't want to. You've adapted to your earbuds. You've adapted to your smartwatch. You've adapted to all the rest of it, but not this. I don't understand that. And that is my current bag, with one addendum. And it stresses that word current. Because this bag is not going to last for long. As durable as it is, I have started, I don't know if you're going to be able to make this out, I have started to wear it out. Let me show you. Right here. the patches right here on either side of the anchor of this cloth. So the anchor of the shoulder strap has not given way, but it is pulling the cloth. See that? You can see through it. See that? You can see through it. It is starting to pull apart this section of cloth all around its base. There's no way to fix that. The only way to fix that is if I had some sort of heavy-duty sewing machine and I could put a heavy piece of cloth between this seam and just re-anchor this whole thing to it. And I don't know how to do that, and I'm not going to pay anybody to do that. So this is slowly tearing its way away from the bag, which means I need to change my shoulder bag, which will be a whole new ergonomic to deal with. Probably warrants a whole new video. I will need to change this bag, as good a friend to me as it has been for so long. I will need to change it because it is, if you don't change it now, I've noticed a structural defect and it's getting worse and it's irreparable. If you don't change your bag then, guaranteed that this strap is going to pull off from the main body of the bag when the bag is fully loaded and it's 115 degrees and I'm not expecting it. Better to take precautions ahead of time. So it's time to get a new bag. And you know what that means. I'm afraid so. It means 30, 35, maybe even 40 Voxer messages on the subject to poor Micah. To poor Micah Cummins. No wonder he's so old. It's wearing him out. Probably 30, 35, 40 Voxer messages. Every little detail. But I'm hoping to see his bag and all of yours. I want to see your bag. What do you carry around with you? And if you are one of those, Larry the Luddites that, oh no, I've got to have my the full Encyclopedia Britannica that I carry with me at all times, even though it's cracking the bones of my spine. I cannot have an e-reader with me. I just cannot. If you're one of those people, fess up. Tell me all about it. Tell me where the books go in your bag. I confess, years ago, one of these, a little schnauzer there, one of these front patches used to be for a paperback book. I'd bring a mass market paperback with me because there would be the beginning part of my journey, whatever it would be, would not have any books yet. I knew that I was going to accumulate them in the course of the day, so I wouldn't have a lack of reading material on the way back, but I wouldn't have to start out with. But I don't do that anymore. Why would I do that? Why on earth would I do that? But anyway, maybe you have an answer to that, so feel free. You know how nosy I am. Feel free to show me your bag. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.